In Islam, marriage is simple, but in many cultures, weddings are a grand and luxurious occasion and often can cost an absolute fortune. During the pandemic, many couples took advantage of the lockdown restrictions and had smaller weddings. Today on Finding the Balance, I'm asking, are weddings a waste of money?
Okay, I don't think weddings are a waste of money. I think everyone should be able to enjoy and celebrate a marriage, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think within moderation I think moderation is down to perception as well, right? So something that looks extravagant to one person is another person's norm as well. So I find with weddings there's a lot of judgment that goes on from the exterior without fully understanding, you know, what the background of that family might be.
I think that's problematic. A lot of people are doing weddings so that other people say good things about them rather than doing weddings for their own enjoyment, for their family to celebrate, to have fun. And I think that's something that's problematic, whereas the amount you spend, it's just down to however much you feel you can spend.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah, I think the amount's subjective, right? £10 to you might be nothing, whilst £10 to me could be everything. But at the same time, one of the things that I do think for weddings is we've overcomplicated it in many situations where we can't even afford it in some cases, but we're still saying, oh, no, like what will people say for it instead? You know, we need to spend 50 grand, we need to get the venue, we need to get the guests, we need to make sure we pay for a big dinner, we need the big cake. Yep. And Islamically, it's meant to be simple. And I guess the point is, when you can't afford it, but you're still pushing for the extravagant wedding, something's gone wrong there.
Yeah. So do you agree or disagree?
Do I agree with
that weddings are a waste of money?
I agree. I think they are a waste of money.
Does anyone disagree?
Well, as in think that you should spend money? Yeah, you should spend a little bit of money, of course, you're going to have a wedding. But as he said, as everyone's kind of saying, that the moment you start making it like over expenses are just becoming ridiculous to the point where, you know, you've spent money on your big wedding, everybody's come, now you've got to go to a bank for a mortgage for your house now. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? You're just expensive. Well, if you're earning 80k a year and you're spending 100 grand on your wedding, or even 50, do you know what I mean? I think that's just like, it's ridiculous.
But again, that barrier is subjective, right? What is too much is, you know, 49k, then acceptable, you know.
Put it this way, if it's going to cause the man stress, yeah, right? And it's going to, and there's like a chance for problems to arise from, like, we spent this much money. Like, example, now you want to go to the house, but you spent it all on your wedding. Now you've got to go and indulge and rebar, go to the banks now. I think this is ridiculous because primarily you should be setting up your family. Yeah.
And that's really troublesome, but again, people get stressed by not having a big wedding as well. So they're in this real conundrum sometimes where if I don't have a big wedding and show face, I'm going to face more stress.
Yeah, but what that comes down to is reputation. People care about their reputation of having a big wedding. Let's please him, let's please her, let's invite them. I feel that just doesn't matter. When two people come together, they come together to be together for the rest of life in front of the eyes of God. No one needs to be there. Like, it doesn't need to be too much.
And maybe that's driven from the family layer, the parental layer, you know. Because sometimes the wedding itself isn't extravagant, even by non-Muslim standards. So it might be a £12 a head wedding, you know, it sounds modest. But it's when you then invite thousands of people, or, you know, for example, I had 975 people at my wedding.
But I'm not being funny, but do people do that, yeah? Because I've been to these weddings, right, in the Muslim community, yeah? And on the invitation it says, no box gifts. Like, I'm thinking, what, are you not just inviting everybody to get reimbursed for your wedding? Because everybody's got to come with an envelope, you've got to put money in it or something. Do you see what I mean? Is this something like strategic, like...
I think that's from historical scenarios where people would all come with the same dinner set and you'd end up with a mountain of crockery and kettles and toasters, and they just want to get away from that. But I guess there is an element of that, but I think you can...
Because if you had 900, and everybody put £20 in, and that's like nothing, yeah?
Well, you've got to count kids, and you remember, like, the culture now is like, you know, if my grandparents are visiting, you know, they happen to go along with the wedding as well. You know, you notice on these wedding invites, there's no RSVP, you know, and if there is, no one's calling to RSVP, you know, people are just turning up.
Mariam, what do you think?
I think it comes down to the intention, because obviously weddings, like, you're celebrating two people coming together, like starting a new chapter of their life, like it's all like happy moments and everything. But sometimes I think people get carried away, like, my cousin spent this much money. But I think people start competing, especially in today's generation. I think people are like, well, this person spent this much money, so I'm going to go ahead and spend more than that because I want to look better than them. But then I think people forget that I want to, you know, if it was my marriage, like I want to enjoy my wedding. I don't care about what other people think. I think it's like kind of what you said, like lågkärringen. People are going to talk anyway. So like, what will people say? So like, people start to think about like society more. So like, oh, if I do this, then am I going to satisfy the society? So I think people kind of lose the intention. Like, it's supposed to be a happy thing, not like a stressful thing.
Who here is married? What were your? So I know you had everything. What was your wedding like?
So we had quite a simple nikah in the masjid, and that was that. And then for the actual walima, we had, I think, something like 150 guests. So it was quite intimate. And that was because we kind of pushed back to be like, actually, we just want people that we know and we get along with, not like a friend of a friend of a friend. It just doesn't make sense.
People that want to be there. Like.
Yeah, exactly. And like afterwards, there were a few discussions. Someone was like, oh yeah, we didn't get invited. We're like, oh yeah, no, sorry. It was like, we kept a specific number there and that's it. And people got it though. But I think the complication is, if you want to spend £1 million on your wedding, cool. £1 million might not mean much to you, or you actually have justified it in your mind. Fair enough. I think that's okay. I think the problem comes where, you know, a young mid-20 something guy goes to some parents and says, you know, I really like your daughter, I want to get married, and for them it's, oh, okay, cool, well, we want to do a massive wedding, can you afford to do that? If the wedding is blocking the marriage, you've got a problem there. Where zina has become cheaper, as opposed to actually getting married, that's where you've got a problem.
Yeah, and to Sean's point, I mean, if you're taking out loans, you know, you see, and it's not just the parents, sometimes even the bride or the groom, you know, you see them renting out Lamborghinis, crashing them, losing their deposit. They can't even afford to put petrol inside the Lamborghini,
it all comes down to like trends, isn't it? Like people try and follow trends.
Yeah, exactly. So it is social pressure, I guess, is the undercurrent, isn't it? Yeah.
It's a waste of money when it's like, you're doing it for people, you're not really doing it for the right intention, not doing it for yourself, for your family. I just don't think like you need to be spending 50k on a wedding when you've got like 100 people in your family. There's no point of doing that.
Yeah, it's a bit mad. And then you've got the expectations.
Yeah.
Your family's expectations of, you're marrying my daughter, it's got to be this.
It's got to be this, yeah.
So for those that are unmarried, are you telling me you wouldn't want a wedding, or you just, what's the amount you would spend?
I don't know about amount, but definitely a small wedding.
What is small to you?
Small, so like in a masjid, like doing like a small like intimate nikah, and then doing like, as like similar to what you said, like doing like a walima where I invite the people who would want to be there. You know, you're always going to get people say, like talking about the food, like, oh, this, you know, this food was rubbish. So like I would only invite the critics, yeah, exactly. Only invite the people that I know that would be there for my happiness, like close kind of family friends. But the nikah would be like very small and intimate.
But you can still have an extravagant wedding and still have a few people. It doesn't always mean loads of people, but I'm getting the vibe that it's, you don't want to have a celebration there. It's more just want to keep it minimal. Is this right?
No, because even keeping it minimal is you're still celebrating. Yeah. You just because adding the money
celebrating with who counts. Yeah. Like, do you know what I mean? Not with like the whole, who matters in your life. Who's the one that knows you, that's going to see you in the street with a woman. They need to know you're married. Whole point of walima, right? Do you see what I'm saying? So have your walima, have your, you know, your party, whatever, but to who matters.
And I'm envious of that to a level, because I remember at my wedding standing on a stage like a statue, and swaves of people that I've never seen in my life, you know, and it's intimidating, you don't feel at ease, you know, so it's cultural.
That's wasting your money.
Yeah, that compensated.
Do you think it was a waste of money?
Well, again, like, I'll put the question back, you know, just because there's a lot of people, was it extravagant? Was it a lot of money? You know, there's people that could have had a 50-person wedding and spent more money, right?
But do you think it was a waste, though? Do you look back and think that was a waste of money?
In parts, yeah, in parts. I think and I think that's extrapolated by the amount of people. Not necessarily because the wedding itself was inherently extravagant, but just because there's so many people and you're trying to please so many people, that inherently has a bit of a cost burden to it. So yeah, there's waste there. But at the same time, it's a memorable day, right? And you know, everyone got to be a part of it. So I think weddings are there to be celebrated. Like, why are we going the opposite? You know, but
there has to be a balance. There's so many people that have got married over lockdown, and they've done a lockdown wedding just so they don't have to invite like all of the extra family members that they don't usually see. But to some extent, that's causing problems in our society as well, because if you want to say, actually, I want a small wedding, I only want certain people to be there that I like and that I get on with and I see day to day and I have banter with and this and that, you're cutting out a huge amount of people that could be a support network in your life. I don't think a wedding is just for the people that are getting married, and that might be a controversial thing to say, but I think the family have to enjoy the wedding, and even the extended family that you only see once every 4 or 5 years. It's a wedding, like when else are you going to see them?
You're bringing two families together, not just two people. So yeah, I understand that point as well.
I believe it's all fake. Like getting cousins to come over, like, you're not really happy for me. You don't really care. Do you know what I mean?
Cousins out there that care about their cousins.
I mean, come on, like, oh, they're getting married, so what? If we're going to get married, it's an invitation to London. Oh, we're going to London. What for? Oh, what's her name's getting married? Yeah.
Do you agree with that? Do you all agree?
I agree with that. I agree with that.
I think that's really just seeing the worst of the situation. I think, you know, sometimes cousins, you know, you just don't get the time to see each other. You know, it might be on both sides.
We're going to see each other.
Yeah, why not? You know, I heard a sad thing the other day. I saw one of my cousins for a long time. He said to me, you know, we only see each other at weddings and funerals, you know, and I'm glad that we see each other. You know, unfortunately, it is at funerals sometimes as well. But I wish we could see each other more. But you know, at least we do have those touch points.
Yeah, but and at those touch points, have you actually connected since then? Like, or is it like you said?
Well,
just that wedding,
at least it maintains the
janaza.
Relationship at the bare minimum. You know, it's the bare bones of
exactly. What's the solution? Like to not invite them to the wedding and just cut them off?
No problem.
Bye bye.
Yeah, like if they're there, it doesn't matter. If they're not there, it doesn't matter. So you're getting married.
Yeah, but then you'll then get the, like, you know, looking again, like society. What are they going to say?
But I'm not getting married for society. I'm getting married for myself and my happiness. Yeah. And
I know, but these key milestones of your life, whether it's marriage, children, whatever it is, surely that's times where people come together. You know, you might not see them for a long time.
I had family, for example. If you matter, you will come.
I had family, for example, coming from Bangladesh, taking a flight over from Bangladesh for my wedding. You know, I might not see that person, that cousin, for another 10, 15, 20 years. God forbid, never again. You know, but so was anything wrong in that person attending my wedding?
I think I'm putting the standard to, like, you know, we've all got family that if they died, you're not going to cry.
You lot have taken this conversation somewhere else, you know. Okay, so I've got a stat for you guys. 264,000 weddings were postponed in 2020, not all Muslim weddings, just as a whole in the UK. So I've got a question for you. Why do you think people postponed that wedding?
Lockdown.
But why didn't they? But why have they postponed it instead of doing a smaller wedding or a smaller ceremony?
Well, there was restrictions. It's pointless having an absolutely ridiculous small wedding. You know, you probably got the woman on one side with her family saying, no, it must be big, blah, 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 this, that, the other. And the man's like, all right, cool. Thought he was going to get away with, like, the little 6 little costs cut down. Do you know what I mean? He was probably pushing for it. And the family's like, no, we'll wait. Do you know what I mean? We'll wait until lockdown's done, then we're having it.
So to some people, weddings aren't a waste of money, right?
Yeah. No, of course not. It's different for everyone. For some people, the priority might... If I was in that situation, I feel I'd be like, great, I can do a small, intimate thing, done. For other people, they might want to be like, actually, for us, we want everyone there. Let's postpone it. It's a completely different priority. You've
got to remember as well, it's not the bride and groom that are necessarily always the decision makers either about when the wedding is. You know, this is a parental-led thing.
What do you mean by that? So, they're not the decision makers.
So who organises the wedding typically for Muslim marriages, you know, and what's the dispersion between the bride and groom leading the organisation, who's invited, where it's held, versus the parents or the wider family? You know, I think you'll find it's quite blended. If anything, it's probably heavily weighted towards the family.
Ladies, I actually want to ask you ladies a question, right? Because this side, I feel, is giving me the whole, I want a small, intimate wedding, right? And I think, Nadia, you're more open to a bigger celebration. So can I just delve into this a bit more? Why?
Put it nicely.
When you think of your wedding, what do you see and what is extravagant to you? I want to hear about this.
I don't necessarily want an extravagant wedding, and I don't have an idea set in my mind of exactly what I want. I don't think I would spend money on, you know, fancy cars or a very expensive, well-known venue, things like that. But I would want everyone there. Like, I would want my friends that are in the UK and the ones that are abroad. I'd want my cousins. I'd want my cousins' once removed cousins and all of those people there. So
the whole family tree.
Yeah. So, like, for me, a wedding is a big thing, and maybe it's down to, you know, this concept, especially that girls have of weddings, that, you know, it's a big day in your life, it's something that you look forward to, that you get excited for, and I guess in some ways it's played up by, you know, this Disney dream of like a big celebration and a party, right? But it's a big day, and it's a big thing to celebrate, so why not do it big?
Wait, so you know, like when you have a baby, like people think that's a big thing as well. Would you invite your cousins, removed cousins? Because that's also a big thing for a girl.
That's a bigger thing, no?
I would say maybe it's not a bigger thing, because you're not going to have like 3 weddings, but you're probably going to have like 3 babies. So you don't want to do a big party every single time. But But would I do a baby shower? Yeah, I would do a baby shower. I wouldn't make it as big as a wedding, no.
Like for weddings itself, let's say you found your ideal character of a man, right? He's got everything that you would want, but he turns around and says, I don't want the big wedding. What then? Is that enough of a deal breaker for you?
Obviously, it's not the right man.
Then it's not the right man. Literally everything in terms of deen, dunya, work, finance, like every aspect you can think, raising children, your values are matching. But you come to the wedding, you go, I want the big wedding. I'm not saying you want the fairy tale kind of extravagant wedding, but you know, you want it sizable enough. And he goes, actually, I just kind of want it intimate. I only want, you know, close friends, family, and done. I don't want to spend too much. And I also can't afford to spend that much.
What would you do if your wife did that and said to you, I want a really big wedding instead of a small wedding? Would it have been a deal breaker for you?
I just have to cave in then and be like, all right, cool then. You know?
Why?
It's just how it works. No, I'm kidding. No, I guess it depends on priority. Like for us, when we wanted to do the nikah, we only wanted to do it in the masjid. But then the parents kind of got involved where it's like, oh, this is our only son. Oh, this is our first daughter. We need to invite people. And at that point, we're like, all right, you know, we won the battle where we got the nikah in the masjid. All right, cool. You don't want to spend the money on this, then fine.
I'm glad you brought that up about parents. Do you think your parents would pressure you to have a big wedding, a big celebration?
No.
No?
I think I would want a small wedding and my parents would be happy with that. And I would also say why. Because instead of kind of renting out these Lamborghinis and massive halls and stuff, I would rather use that money for like an Umrah ticket or like Hajj, inshallah. So I would kind of put that forward and then my parents would definitely agree with that.
I guess in all those situations, just compromise, isn't it? One wants a big wedding, one wants a small wedding, you find compromise.
Yeah, find the middle ground.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. Parents, cousins, then parents. So bring it back for a second. I need to ask this question. You mentioned about people at the wedding, you want people to be happy for you at this event, right? If everyone there was happy and I gave you 100 grand to spend on the wedding, would you take it?
No, I'd spend it on my honeymoon.
Yeah.
I'll spend it towards a house. Yeah.
Yeah, house, definitely.
Yeah,
I don't understand this. I won't spend money on my wedding, but I'll spend it on my honeymoon. I don't get that.
Honeymoon and house.
Yeah, okay, house, yeah, I agree. House, you need money for,
longer term.
Like,
okay, honeymoon,
like
why
also,
is
honeymoon,
there
you're together with your husband. Like, you're not,
Privacy.
you're not, I don't need to spend
You've got the rest of your life to spend with your husband. Like, spend some money on your family that you never
almost, one is, without using the term incorrectly, but more selfish, of me, my husband, me and my wife, whilst the other one is thinking about external factors as well.
So you don't think the wedding is for you? You don't think, because it's interesting to see how some perspectives are the weddings for my family or the weddings for my mum and my dad, but not many people are like the weddings for me.
No, the wedding's for me.
Yeah,
the wedding's for me.
Pick a lane, people, pick a lane.
It's a blend.
It's a blend, it's a blend.
Because some of those cousins are coming because they, you know, they grew up with your dad, or your uncles are coming
But
because
they're surely coming for you though, right?
Yeah, of course, ultimately, but you know, in different
If
flows,
a man doesn't
right?
want a wedding, yeah, and he's doing it for his parents, I just think you should grow a backbone, mate, and say, you're not having a wedding. I'm going to do it small, at the masjid, witnesses and a little walima. Like, I don't understand this.
I want to explore this honeymoon question because I think this is a really good question. Why are we so okay with X amount on honeymoons, but it comes to weddings and it's like, oh, no.
I actually said honeymoon in the house.
No, and like the whole Instagram world has blown up holidays like it's the next big thing. We don't want to buy watches and nice cars anymore. We want to go on extravagant holidays, and that's what's in fashion now.
And take lots of pictures.
That wedding is one day.
One day. Exactly.
One day of you've been
But
to
it's
weddings,
one day
right?
that's not
Everybody's
just
under
for
stress.
you.
No, yeah, but
It should be for you though.
because
No, it
you've got
shouldn't. I
the
don't
bride and
agree.
the groom, and they're under stress. They're under the spotlight all day. She's got to get the dresses on. She's got to walk up there, standing up like a statue on the stage. Yeah, exactly. All of that. Did you really enjoy it?
That's not everyone's wedding experience, though.
Having said that, is he just doing it for himself, or is he like, I don't really care if it happens or it doesn't. If it's so important to the family, all right, cool, we'll just do it. It doesn't.
But I don't want to
concern me.
betray the reality. I say standing like a statue. Yeah, 100%. You know, at times you're not
So
fully enjoying.
what would you enjoy more, your honeymoon or your wedding?
But this is where I find I disagree. You know, it's not just about my enjoyment. Surely my wedding is not just purely for my enjoyment. Because if it is, then you know,
But
why have a
everyone's
wedding
coming
at all?
together for your enjoyment.
Same people that's going to see
No,
you happy at
not
your wedding are
necessarily.
going to be
Not-
happy that you're on holiday,
I
having
think
a
they-
great time with your new wife.
But I think the enjoyment factor is where I disagree. Everyone's coming together for you, correct? But not necessarily to see you at the happiest day of your life or the happiest moment of your life. Why does that have to be the case, and why do we put that pressure around it?
Could be the worst day of your life.
Do you know what I mean? You know, you never know, right? But I sometimes think that, you know, does it have to be about, and if you put that pressure on you, even if it's a holiday, right? Let's just take it back to the holiday. If your pressure is just to have enjoy and you put so much focus on that, you might be disappointed, you know? So I think some enjoyment comes naturally. You can't put pressure around it. And yeah, wedding time, you might not be the happiest you've ever been in your life or the most enjoyable experience of your life, but it's the cohesive element, right? Everyone was together. It's that memories you make, the people you haven't seen for so long, seeing other people enjoy yourselves as well. Surely seeing everyone else come together gives you a sense of fulfillment as well.
And if you can afford to do all of that, perfect.
Of course, yeah. If you're not taking out a big loan, if you're not under undue stress and pressure to do it, then I don't see the harm.
I just think we can all agree that it's more stressful for a girl and a guy to have a huge wedding than have like a small intimate wedding in the masjid. I think.
Why? Why? Why is it stressful?
Because there's like tailoring, there's so many elements. Yeah, like pictures, like videographers. What girls would be walking in and they have to stop and like keep. Like,
some people really want that. Do you know? Some people not dream of that kind of fairy tale wedding.
Fairy tale?
But do you not think that when
you're lagging,
when you're doing like a big wedding like that, you normally have like, you know, a lot of people, like a lot of family to help you do that. So it's not that stressful. Like, you know.
No, it's still stressful because they're not walking down the aisle where I am.
But you're going to do that in a small wedding anyway. You're always like, you're going to walk down an aisle.
Yeah. And for some girls, that's the moment
it's always
going to
be a stressful day. It's like you'll be excited and stressed.
Yeah. So. And isn't there stress as well in terms of cutting down that guest list? Isn't there stress in that?
Yeah.
You know, like which family member? Yeah, I think there is.
But you have to remember weddings as well, like especially in our cultures, especially as being like Muslims in a country where there's not that many Muslims, they are an important societal event. It's where a lot of Muslims meet each other, make new friends, families meet new Muslim families, and we just don't have that in the UK. We don't have those opportunities to meet other Muslims in that way.
I don't think a wedding is one. If you're having a segregated wedding, you're not going to really meet a lot of people.
Lots of
No, you're talking about men. Sorry. Sorry.
No, even if at segregated weddings, lots of people make friends with new families, and then their families realise actually there's two people here that are single. You're getting set up.
Yeah, because weddings happen at weddings, even if they're not segregated or if they are.
Yeah, you get the auntie matchmakers kind of peeping through the curtain.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your opinions. It'll be really interesting to see what else everyone else has to say. I learned a lot about you all, and I'm really looking forward to seeing your final reflections, actually.
So I still don't think weddings are a waste of money. I think within your means, if you can have a great day, you know, a memorable day, you know, with your friends and family, then go ahead and enjoy yourself.
I still think weddings are a waste of money. If I haven't seen you in 10 years, I don't think you deserve to be at my wedding. I don't think I deserve to be paying for you that extra amount.
Initially, I went in and said they are a waste, but when I heard what Nadia was saying, where it's collectively about your family and a big celebration with them as well, I think it's not just about yourself, it is about others as well. So yeah, with a couple of caveats, it can be a waste, but there's times where actually it can be okay.
No, I don't think weddings are a waste of money. However, it does come down to what people are comfortable with and also keeping in mind the intention, because it's about bringing two people together, but also two families together as well.
I do think weddings are a waste of money, you know, especially if it's causing stress for the bride or the groom, and all for one day.
Yeah, I still think they're not a waste of money, because I did hear some points about spending more money on the honeymoon and bits like that. But I really think weddings are a central part of society and people meeting each other and coming back together. So I do think it's worth having a wedding that you spend some money on and make sure everyone enjoys.